Hey guys, what's going on? Today I actually wanted to make a bit of a raw style video and take a break from the vlogs that I've been making over the past month. So episode 1 and episode 2 of those vlogs are already out, so if you're interested, go check them out. Otherwise, you're on this video right now, so it's going to be about N8N, which I think most people have heard of by now, but it's a software tool that lets you build agentic automations in the web browser. And what you're looking at here is basically a agentic RAG automation. So I'll get into what all those buzzwords mean in a second. But to just test the workflow, to give you guys an idea of how the web app works, if you come in here and you test the workflow, this automatically starts getting emails from your Gmail account and kind of does some data transformation and then passes those emails to the AI agent, which it can then interact with different tools. So I've given it the ability to act with this vector database tool, which I'll explain what it is in a second. But this is what makes it agentic. The fact that it's a LLM that has OpenAI that can use its ability to reason and to understand, to interact with different tools that we give it access to. So that's what an agentic AI is. And RAG, because it's using an external knowledge base. So this vector database is some knowledge base that I've created in the workflow up here. And it allows the AI to basically make better decisions or better outputs with very context-specific knowledge. So it's an LLM trained on a bunch of data, and we also give it access to very specific data related to our company. So for example, how we answer to emails. So while I just let this thing spin, I'll get into the actual workflow that's at the top here. So what this workflow does is it gets a bunch of emails from the Gmail that are related to, if I make this a bit bigger, kruipruimteventilatie, which in Dutch just means crawl space ventilation. That's what this part of the workflow is doing. It's getting a bunch of emails related to a specific topic. And then what it does here is it makes sure that it only gets the first email of that thread. So in Gmail, a thread is a bunch of emails that are connected to each other. And if you return only the first email, then you essentially have an email from most likely a client that's requesting information, a quote, and because of the filter, we know it's about ventilation. Okay, so now we have emails coming in from a client, and basically the goal of this whole process, of this whole top workflow, is going to be storing a bunch of emails into this database so that this AI agent, when it receives a new email, can find similar emails that were received in the past, get the replies to those emails, and then produce a better answer by looking at how we've replied to those emails in the past, if that makes sense. So we get a bunch of emails from the past, and one chain summarizes those emails. So we use a summarization chain from N8N that basically uses OpenAI to summarize all those emails. So now we have a summary of all those emails, plus this bottom node gets the reply. So now we have a summary and the reply. We merge those into kind of one single item, and we insert them in the vector database. So the vector database basically just turns text into a vector, and with that vector, the computer can use it to basically better compare text. So it knows similarity, it knows keywords, but the basic idea is that it allows this AI agent to get similar emails that we've sent in the past. So that's what this does, and we also add metadata to each entry of this vector database. That's the reply. So now we have a summary that's vectorized and a reply to the email which we gave as a company. So that's what's in the vector database. And I think at the moment there's like 100 or 200 entries related only to crawl space ventilation. So that's a bunch of emails, a bunch of data, and that's what makes it RAG, this kind of extra knowledge base. Then what happens in the bottom workflow, and this is the actual automation, is whenever an incoming email comes in, we basically trigger this workflow. And we pass that email to this AI agent. And what this AI agent does is you can prompt it. So here we give it a prompt. So you can say like, yes, you're an AI agent whose job is to structure emails with their corresponding answers. You can use data that comes in from the previous nodes. So here are the previous nodes, and tell it how to interact with that data. So for example, here I tell it, use the incoming email to find similar emails from the database. So it's going to then use this integration that it has. It's going to be agentic, keyword, to basically get a bunch of similar emails to the incoming emails and also their corresponding replies that we gave as a business. So that's what this AI agent does. It also structures that output into a output that's consumable by the next AI agent. And what the next AI agent does is it uses a technique, if I make this a bit bigger, where I basically loop through the examples that it found. So for example, this was the incoming email, this was the response. And we give 5 examples of that. So 5 examples of emails and the response we gave as a company. And then we say, now create a response for email. And this was the incoming email that we received as a business. So this is another prompting technique that you can use to kind of get better performances from your LLMs. And yeah, that's the end of the workflow. Once it's here, it will then actually produce an output, which you can see here, response, and it tries to give the best response that it can give. And the results were pretty impressive. I mean, it knew the prices of items that we have. So for example, it's called a roaster in Dutch. It basically lets air flow from the crawl space to the actual outside area. So it knew the prices of those things. So you can see here, 75 euros excluding tax. It actually knew the names of the people who work for the company. It found a YouTube video that we made or that we've shared with clients in the past to explain how things work. It had information on, for example, we don't come to the client or to the address unless they order a product worth so-and-so. So the results were pretty impressive and my boss was pretty happy. So that's nice. In the process of making this, what have I learned? What would I say is the most important thing in order to make a working agentic automation? And I can say, first of all, the most important thing is that your RAG, so your external knowledge base, is filled with good data. So in AI, we have the saying garbage in, garbage out. If your vector database is full of emails that are not related to the emails you're trying to automate, so if you just throw in all of the thousands of emails you have as a company, you're going to get bad results because there's just too much in the database. So that's lesson 1. Garbage in, garbage out. Make sure that the data that's stored in the vector database is just specific to the emails you're trying to automate. And if you're trying to automate a bunch of different emails, then make a bunch of different vector databases, each with only emails related to that process. So that's what I learned so far. Next thing is, these AI agents are just not smart enough yet to work with many tools. I would say each AI agent should have only one tool to work with, and each AI agent should have only one function, only one job. And make sure that it does not fuck that one up, that it does not mess it up, and pass whatever that result is to the next AI agent, which will then only have one job and one tool to interact with, for example. Because I tried putting everything into one AI agent and giving it multiple tools, but because of the kind of lack of determinism that LLMs have, the output is just not predictable. So, for example, this AI agent, its only job is to create an output which the next AI agent can consume. So what it does is it gets all the incoming email, or it gets all the similar emails, gets the replies, and puts them into an array. So here you can see the array is Q&A, and position, or the first element of the array, has an incoming email and our response, and so on. And it also passes the original text on, which this AI agent is going to use to reply to. So that's tip number 2. We're not yet there where these AI agents are smart enough to just figure things out on their own. They need very specific instructions. They're not deterministic, so you can expect to have different outputs multiple times. I can hopefully find an example of this where I've told it many times that the output should always contain the original incoming email so that the next AI agent knows what email it needs to respond to. But even that, it cannot do 100% of the time. So they're not some genius that can figure everything out. Third thing, prompting matters. Prompting really actually does matter. It's not a job. I'm not going to go that far, but it does matter in order to be very specific. Explain it in steps. Each step should have extra context. You can definitely emphasize things by putting like important ? And usually if that's the case, it will never kind of forget that. Try different prompts. That does matter. Look at for example, research. I found that this kind of example was a strategy that you can use to get better performance. So yeah, those would be the 3 pieces of advice I would give to anyone trying to automate anything. Make sure it has good data. Sorry, not good garbage. Good data. Make sure each AI agent is responsible for only one task and it cannot fuck that task up. And 2, prompting matters. So try different prompts, do some research. There's definitely somebody who's been trying to solve the same issue as you. And yeah, if you guys want to try starting automation, then let me know. I think N8N is a good way to start. You get a 14-day free trial, and I think the beginner version is 20 euros. I would love if you guys try to automate some stuff. Let me know how it goes, and then we can all share what we've learned.